Another closing tool is breaking it down to the smallest quantity or the smallest detail. Now, when you're closing a deal, regardless if it's a monthly payment or the initial payment, always break it down. It's always going to help the customer look at the situation differently. For example, let's say the monthly payment is 150 and you have two vehicles, for instance, one liability and one full coverage. Now the customer keeps telling you, Rudy, it's too much money. I don't want to pay the 150. I really don't want to pay 150. You know, my budget is 120, 110. If I could find it for 110, 120, I'll do it. If not, you know, it's too much money. They're looking at the 150, break it down into the smallest quantity, break it down into the smallest detail. So for instance, you could break it down and just do a quick math. Liability is 110, for example, and then liability will be $40, full coverage will be 110. So you tell them, look, sir, you know what? I know you're looking at the 150, but let me share something with you. First of all, you are getting $35,000 worth of a liability policy, 15,000 per person, up to 30,000 per accident, and $5,000 for property damage. So that's a total of $35,000 for two vehicles, not only for one, for two vehicles. Also, the value of your car is $15,000. So not only are you getting $35,000 worth of coverages for liability, multiply that times two, that's a total of $70,000 plus $15,000 for the value of the car. Literally, this policy is worth $85,000 worth of coverage. Okay, the value of your policy is up to $85,000. So if you actually look at the situation, you're paying 110, just a quick scenario, 110 for full coverage, and you're paying $40 for liability. This is great, actually. This is fantastic. You know, I know you want to pay 110, but honestly, you want a company to cover those $15,000 and also the $35,000 for liability for simply 110 just for two cars. That's going to be very difficult because insurance companies don't want to lose money. Insurance companies don't want to go bankrupt. So once again, the 150, you're only paying 110 for full coverage, and you're paying an additional $40 because you're getting a discount. You're getting $40 for the liability. So it's not bad at all. We should just go ahead and do it because there's nothing cheaper. Now you're not going to find anything lower than 110 for full coverage. I mean, look, you're getting coverage of $15,000 for the car and $35,000 for liability for that car. That's actually pretty good. That's fantastic. $40 for the liability vehicle, that's ridiculous. That's extremely good. Let's go ahead and get this done. So break it down into the smallest quantity so they don't look at the 150. Now they're looking at 40 and the 110. Psychologically, it makes a big difference. Another example, maybe they have three cars and it's 120 and it's liability. So you're going to use the same concept. You're going to divide the 110, let's say 110. The 110, you're going to divide it into three. So that's going to be roughly around $35, $36 a month. So don't emphasize on the 110, break it down into three because it's three vehicles. So I would tell the customer, look, Mr. Customer, I know the 110 seems ridiculous, and for you, you may, you may not be satisfied with the 110. But let me share this with you. Actually, I'm not so sure if you made these calculations, but look, you're only paying $35 per car. That's ridiculous. Let's go ahead and get it done right now. This price is amazing. Okay, no one qualifies for $35 per vehicle for liability. These are the rates from 2010. We're in 2019 now. These rates, you can't find them. 110, forget about that. You're paying $35 per vehicle, $35, $36. So what do you say? You want to pay $36? Or do you want to continue shopping around? Because cheaper than those $36 is not going to happen. You're not going to find anything lower than those $36. Matter of fact, that is a bargain. Let's go ahead and take care of it right now because you're not going to find anything cheaper. So by breaking it down, you force them to make a decision based on the smaller quantities, not the total. Now we could use this same concept when we're closing the initial payment. Let's say you're giving the customer 250 to 350, for instance. Or let's just talk about the exact. You gave them 350. You're giving them 350, and there's 3 vehicles, for instance. Okay, so you could break it down. You could break down the 350 into 3 different quantities. So the customer could look at it in a different perspective. So let's just assume that it's 350. If you divide the 350 into 3, you're roughly gonna get at least maybe like 115 per car, 115, 120 max. So you're gonna tell the customer, look, I understand that the 350 may seem a little bit more than what you wanted to pay, but let me just share something with you. You're actually just paying 115 per vehicle or 120 per vehicle. That's all you're doing. 115. That's not bad at all. So when you look at the situation, you're not paying a ridiculous amount. So you got to remember that insurance companies are going to require some sort of activation per vehicle. It's not for the whole policy. Now you are paying it as a full policy, and the total is the 350. But look at what you're paying per vehicle. You're only paying 110 per car. So 110 is not that bad. To be honest with you, you ask anybody, look, I paid 110 to get my policy started. It's not bad at all. They're gonna say, oh, that's pretty good. That's fantastic. Matter of fact, there's customers that may have to pay what you're paying for 3 cars. They may have to pay that for 1 car because their situation is different. So definitely the 110 per vehicle, that's amazing. That's very low. That's reasonable. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way. Let's take care of the situation. I can help you with a 2 payment plan, but once again, you're only paying 110. So by breaking it down into the smallest quantities, what you're doing is you're moving the total to the side, and you're focusing on the individual number. Now customers are going to be more open-minded, more willing to make a decision when the quantities are lower. Now, are they still going to pay the 350? Absolutely. Are they still going to pay the exact monthly payment that you gave them? Absolutely. But see, you don't want them to make a decision based on the price. You want them to make a decision based on the value. So by breaking it down into a smaller quantity, you're adding value to the policy, and you're dividing the total payment individually per car or per driver. If there's 2 drivers and maybe 2 of them are going to be making a decision, then split the 350 in 2. In that case, tell them, everyone's going to pay roughly a good 175 each, for example. So it's not that bad. Forget about the 350. You're paying 175. He's paying 175. That's great. So break it down into the smallest quantity based on cars, based on drivers, if there's different drivers that are going to be making a decision. And customers are going to look at the situation slightly different. They're not going to focus on the total amount. They're going to focus on the individual amount, which that's technically your goal, for them to look at the smaller quantities and make a decision based on that, not the full amount. Use it. It's simple and it's very effective.